Order and ask for everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning. I'm going to go ahead and ask for approval of today's agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Open up time for public comment, where this is the public's chance to comment on anything that's not on the agenda today. Okay. Hearing none, I'll go ahead and move to approval of the minutes from August 1st and August 2nd, 2018.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from August 1st and 2nd.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approval of claims for payment for August 8th, 2018.
Move to approve claims for payment.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Utility permits,
We don't have
nothing
any.
today. Secondary roads report, Taylor?
Yeah, okay, there's kind of an important one. So for tomorrow, and it should be tomorrow only, we are going to be closing a section of a highway. So we're just going to detour people on the gravel. It's on D65 southwest of New Providence between MM Avenue and O. So we're fixing up the gravel road to the north. We're going to try to direct everyone to the north.
Okay.
Then that's on to what, 305th Street? 315th Street. So hopefully they're done by about noon, and then we get back open.
Okay. And you'll communicate that with Micah to put on, okay. Anything else, Taylor?
We've been working on some shoulders.
Okay.
So
All right.
those need it.
Sounds good. All right. Next, I have the review and consider the Iowa DOT agreement for the STBG program, Federal Aid Swapping Fund, project number STBG-SWAP-CO 42 sub 93-FG-42. Agreement number 1-18-STBG-SWAP-036.
So
Taylor.
this is in regards to our swap funding, which we discussed last week, which is pretty much state dollars now. So your state taxes are helping to pay for this. So this is for the same stretch of road as we're closing today for or tomorrow for a little bit. It would be the pavement from New Providence over to Highway 65, as well as there's a little 2-mile stub of S57 there too.
Okay.
So this pays for, I believe it's 1.8 million of the $2.8 million project. And this is kind of the program that Julie's a part of, where we share the money with 4 other counties, and you kind of spread it out who gets it when. So it's a pretty simple DOT agreement that we normally have.
Okay.
This project's going to take place when?
Next summer.
Next summer.
Morning, Rob. Okay. I'll ask for a motion to approve the aforementioned project.
I will make a motion to approve the DOT agreement for the STBG program federal aid swap funding.
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, Julie's here representing Region 6 Housing Trust Fund. I'll go ahead and let her take over.
Okay, that sounds great. So I'm coming here in Marty Wymore's place today, part of Region 6 Housing Trust Fund. First off, I want to thank you all for your support for the Housing Trust Fund in recent years. So far for Hardin County, in the last several years, we've been able to spend about $230,000 here. We were able to get 19 projects in, resulting in about $12,000 average per project. So really great work here. When we break that down to a per capita spending basis for those 4 counties that are involved in the Housing Trust Fund, Hardin County is a little bit ahead on that per capita average, about $33,000 over. But still great. We're doing great on spending here, and I think that the program has made a lot of impact. So for 2019, right now, what we have in hand for 2018 dollars left, we have about $127,000 of unobligated grants and matching from 2008 numbers. We also have about $182,000 in repayment funds on hand. And for 2019, we will plan on applying for, we'll get about $335,000. That'll give us about $644,000 working dollars. So that's our plan for applying for October 1 for that. So your match would obviously be a part of that then. We've also had, I'm sure you all have heard about the Marshalltown tornado at this point. There are some challenges there related to that. So the Housing Trust Fund does spread across that 4-county area. Similar to what you were saying as far as the DOT money and the transportation money that we allocate. Very often we look at these accounts and funds as far as that per capita spending basis, how we allocate that money across there, but there is a very large need in Marshalltown. So what we're looking at is sort of doing the structure of perhaps paying it forward in a way and allocating some of that money to the emergency cases in Marshalltown. Internally, we're trying to prioritize. Does that mean that we just limit the spending that we can do to roofs only, those types of things? But we hope to, we always track the spending on a per capita basis and for how we divvy out the money to different counties. So that's kind of the plan there. We've already seen 64 pre-applications submitted for this program. Of those, we're looking at about 30 applicants that have had no insurance or they're incredibly underinsured. So the need is pretty great. We're still working internally to try to figure out how we prioritize, help the most folks. That may mean limiting funding to just, for example, targeting roof improvements, those kinds of things. So, yeah, program spending is good. Like I said, Hardin County is a little bit over on the per capita spending. We've been seeing some great work here. So that's kind of the report for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So after you help with funding, do you require them to have insurance?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Most of the program requirements will still stay in place, especially regarding income requirements that we use to qualify for that. There's different kinds of things. We're really not looking at anything outside of the scope of the project, outside of the scope of the Housing Trust Fund right now. So we're really just thinking based on that need, and especially the emergency need, how can we help them? The program will still be helping all 4 counties at the same time, but obviously with some folks not able to live in their homes right now with some really disaster-related roof repair, we hope that you all would agree that we should perhaps prioritize those houses. Again, we're certainly still taking applications for all of the counties. If we see any house in any of those counties at that point in time, we're more than willing and ready to jump on that and help with those too. But probably for program allocation dollars for 2018 and then 2019, they may be prioritized more to the Marshall County area. And then after that time, we'll still use our per capita allocation just to make sure we balance everything out.
Okay.
So, that's okay with the other here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So we need to consider the resolution to approve the Region 6 Housing Trust Fund contribution for fiscal year 1920 in the amount of $12,408 today.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to approve the Region 6 Housing Trust Fund for Hardin County cash contribution.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Oh, yes, Pauline.
I didn't hear the amount.
It is $12,408. Okay. Nancy?
Renee?
Aye.
Lance?
Aye.
DJ?
Aye. Okay. The next item I have is the auditor's monthly report.
I'll move to approve the auditor's monthly report of July 1st through the 31st, totaling $1,065.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next, I have the recommendation on animal feeding operation construction permit, Mites Home Finisher Farm, Section 24 of Clay Township.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation on, or to recommend approval on the animal feeding operation construction permit for the Mites Home Finisher Farm in Section 24 of Clay Township.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yes, Julie.
Okay, I was unable to attend the public hearing, but I see that number 2 down there, they initially had 450 hogs. So now adding 2,940. So it will be 3,390 head total, which they will have there on that site. Is that correct?
It is 1,176 animal units.
I didn't ask about animal units. I'm asking about how many actual head will there be there?
The new will be 3,390 head.
Okay, and when these are all flipped, so we'll have approximately 10,000 hogs going through their production.
Correct.
Excuse me,
That's all you.
1,176 animal units is 2,940 hogs.
Right.
Not 3,390.
In Jessica Sheridan's recommendation letter, the total hogs at the entire facility will be 3,090 head or 1,356 animal units. The previous was 2,940 or 1,176 animal units.
No, the application said previous was 450, the new building would add 2,400.
I'm just reading off what Jessica Sheridan's provided.
We just want to make sure that
Right.
Those numbers don't agree with the application.
matches.
So,
So, if that needs
Yep.
to be revisited, I would appreciate it if it was. Thank you.
yep. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion among board members?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
If we don't agree with the numbers, why would it still get approved
The-
Not approved,
or recommended? I'm just kind of curious if there's a question on the numbers.
I don't believe there's a question on the numbers. I believe that just the wording is incorrect in Jessica's letter. The application hasn't changed.
Well, no, I agree
Right.
the application hasn't changed. I'm just saying this paper, if it's not correct, why would it be moved on? Shouldn't it be correct first?
I believe the application is correct. I believe Miss Sheridan's note to us, because of her absence today, could possibly be incorrect. Yes, Julie.
So let's not agree on something that's possibly incorrect. I think that should be revisited, corrected, and then presented.
I can tell you if we're under a deadline. Number one, hold on, excuse me,
I'm sorry,
okay?
go ahead.
We're under a deadline, and if this has to be revisited and it's a numerical change on an application, it will not go through the same process that it did last time.
Except when you agree to pass something, it should be accurate. That's all I'm saying. I'm just
right.
asking for accuracy before you approve something that could be
Right.
inaccurate. Can we agree that passing accurate things is important?
Absolutely, and it has been identified as accurate by the DNR, and it has been identified as accurate by Jessica Sheridan.
The application has, the letter doesn't agree with. what
I understand, but this
So
letter
she can
was,
change the letter, we can't change the application.
Right. the
So then
application is
letter
not
will be
part,
changed.
this was for our use because of her absence today.
But it has now become county public paperwork.
Correct.
So it will be corrected.
Yes, we will ask Ms. Sheridan upon her return to correct any incorrect information in her letter.
But still, how do we pass things that aren't correct?
They,
Because-
Pauline, they are correct. The application,
But it's not correct here for us to see. Now, if we brought something to you with dimensions, like say we're gonna build a building.
Right.
And our dimensions and things aren't accurate with our permit or our letter or whatever.
Mhm.
Are we gonna correct that and not have things correct? Because as this goes out in the newspaper and stuff, and the application and the letter aren't correct, how's that gonna look to the public when you guys aren't correct with things?
because what is going to the DNR is correct, Pauline.
How do we know that's correct?
It's the
How do you
application.
not know it is correct? What are you, I'm asking, what is your expertise saying that this is not correct, Pauline?
Because it's not matching up for us to see that's correct here.
That's
for what you're
that's
presenting.
Jessica's letter. And she can correct that. Actually, what we're approving on the agenda, it is the operation construction permit, which is on the left. So the permit is correct. I mean, that was what was filled out by the applicant and has gone to the DNR. So what the DNR has checked is correct. This was just written by Jess since she was not able to be here today. I don't even know that this has to go to the DNR. We're approving what's on the left side. What's incorrect is probably on the right side, which is just internal information. We're approving the construction permit application form that's on the left.
So how,
We're not approving her letter. We're approving the construction permit.
So I have a motion and a second. Nancy, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Renee,
Aye?
Lance,
Aye.
BJ.
Aye. Next item is a change of status for the sheriff's office. I have 6 of those this morning. Sheriff McDaniel and Nick just said they were going through their active and inactive staff, along with a couple other changes. So go ahead and start with Deputy Daniel Wegg.
I'll make a motion to approve the change of status for Daniel Wigg in the sheriff's office. He was a deputy, and it is his resignation effective the 17th of August, 2018.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Next, I have Emily Schoeneman.
I'll move to approve the change of status, Emily Schumann,
Schooneman.
effective 8/18 of 2018, part-time dispatch as a resignation.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
That's effective August 18.
Yeah. All in favor say aye.
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 Next I have is Sarah Olson.
Make a motion to approve the employee change of status for Sarah Olson as a correctional officer. She was permanent part-time. It's her resignation, and the change of status is effective August 6th, 2018.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next I have is Cyrus Thomas.
I'll move to approve the change of status for Cyrus Thomas, effective 8/18 of 2018, correctional officer, permanent part-time promotion to $16.27 an hour to
Aye.
full-time.
Oh, he's going, yeah, part-time to full-time, okay.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Did you say he was going from permanent part-time to full-time?
Yes.
Yes. I'll second it.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next I have is Jesse Wolf.
Make a motion to approve the change of status for Jesse Wolf. He's a correctional officer, and he's permanent part-time going to full-time at a salary rate of $16.27 an hour, effective August 18th, 2018.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The final one in the sheriff's office would be Sarah K. Knott.
I'll make a motion to approve the change of status for Sarah K. Knott, effective 8/6 of 2018, communications operations, permanent part-time resignation.
I'll second it.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Next item, we have change of status in the auditor's office. We have 2 of those.
I'll make a motion to approve the employee change of status for Kelly Collins, effective August 8th, 2018. It's a pay increase to a salary rate of $43,666 annually.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And I'll also make a motion to approve the employee change of status for Nancy Laver in the auditor's office, effective August 8th, 2018, for a pay increase to a salary rate of $46,785.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next is resolutions directing the auditor to place public measures on the general election ballot.
This comes up every now and then. For the, not to appoint, or for us to appoint instead of the election.
So the law says if I put it on the general election ballot for one of the townships that's elected, I have to put it on for all of them that's elected. And at this point in time, we have 6 of our 15 townships that elect rather than be appointed. And what you would do is, if you want, you can direct me to put it on the ballot to see if we can increase the number that go through the appointment process rather than elected if they so choose. I wasn't specifically asked this time to put it on there, although there have been discussions. I wasn't formally requested, but it's that time again that we would put it on. We last did it in 2014 and gained a few more townships that now are appointed at the end of their terms rather than elected. So if you don't order me to put it on, that's up to you. If you do, then it gives me the authority to put it on the general election ballot for those 6 townships.
So but does it go on, you said it goes on for every township though, is that correct?
For everyone that's elected, and we only have 6. that
Oh,
are
all right,
elected.
okay.
It just gives them the opportunity to vote on whether they want to continue to elect their people
Right.
or just have them appointed by the board as the terms expire.
They're township trustees
And clerks,
And
yes.
clerks.
and clerks.
And would that only show up on the ballot of those 6?
Right.
townships?
Okay.
It creates more splits for us usually and stuff, and it's kind of chaotic, but it's nice, in my opinion. Now there's opposite opinions too, but in my opinion, it's good that when someone wants to leave a position, that it's appointed and it just goes forward. It doesn't need a confirmation election. It doesn't need to appear on the ballot then when that term expires and get someone new. And it seems like those elections, while on the general ballot, don't have a lot of people voting on them. It's lower on the ballot. It's a nonpartisan office. A lot of people just leave it off, and it becomes chaotic because if there's no one that files for it, it's just a write-in, and then someone might win with 2 or 3 write-in votes
Right.
and not even want the position. Then we have to go find someone to be in that position, and then you have to appoint them because we've passed the election. So that's my opinion. I did hear a converse opinion from a clerk who it was a very valid point. She said, if we give up the right to be elected, what would you take away next? Meaning government, not me specifically. And I thought that was valid. It was nice to protect it at the lower level. I get it, but for ease of just moving people into the positions to do the job, it's so much easier to have appointed people who agree to serve rather than writing in people who then don't want the job and whatnot. So I brought it to you. You can approve it and order me to put it on the ballot, or you can pass. I have no opinion either way as to whether we should or shouldn't. It's just that time.
There's no added cost whatsoever to the ballots
No.
to have it on.
No.
But there could be a savings if everybody does take it off eventually down the road.
Potentially you can combine certain ballots and not have to have them separated out because you have to have clerks and trustees on it. So I think Julie had a question.
Sometimes cost should not be focused, and
I agree. I agree with that statement. I just wanted it out there that there is no added cost.
sometimes doing the easy thing is not always the correct thing. In government, sometimes doing the easy thing is not the best, and this is like the most local control, and that when you choose to give that up, it's not always a good thing.
But it's the township people that will vote as to whether or not they want to do that. I mean, it's their choice. They can vote no, that they don't want to do it. And as far as when we make appointments, we normally contact the sitting township clerks and trustees, and they're the ones that kind of go out and ask people if they'd be interested in serving. So we're not doing this, like Jessica said, electing somebody by write-in, which has happened for years, and then that person declines the office. They don't want to do it. So the sitting people will go and find people that actually want to do it, because it's getting harder and harder to find people that actually want those positions.
It's harder to find people who want to take responsibility for their own.
So,
Oh, I see that in many ways.
I will make a motion to approve the resolution directing the county auditor to place the proposition on the general election ballot in order to vote on whether or not to appoint versus elect township officials in those townships that currently elect.
I think I have them listed in mine.
Yeah.
Do you mind just reading those off so that
Alden, Buckeye, Ellis, Etna, Providence, and Union Townships would be those to be placed on the ballot.
I'll second that.
Okay. I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion?
The choice is up to the people in each individual township.
Okay. Nancy?
Renee?
Aye.
Lance?
Aye.
BJ?
Aye. Okay, the next I have is another resolution requesting the County Commissioner of Elections to hold an election on the question of a change in the local sales and services tax revenues. So
4 years ago, do you want me to talk?
yes, please.
So
Thank
4
you.
years ago, we did this on the general election ballot, and you created and carved out a third place for economic development and community betterment. And in carving out that third place for the money to go, we took from one of the other benefactors, which was capital projects, and we also increased the amount of tax relief to the rural services, those that live in the rural township areas that are taxed. So I was asked to draft this. I drafted it for you. There's no numbers in there, so you would need to talk about what you want those percentages to be, but it shows what they currently are, which is 85.
80,
Oh, is it 80?
80, 10,
Sorry.
and 10.
Of course, 100. 80, 10, and 10. And if you want a change and would like that, it has to be voted on at the ballot. So I'm presenting it to you because the time frame is right now to order me to have this done.
The dollar amount, total dollar amounts, do you know that by
You
chance?
get about $690,000 a year.
Just short.
In local option sales taxes from the rural businesses that charge that and submit that through the state and whatnot, that comes back to our county. And so right now, you're putting, just shy of $70,000 a year in capital projects and just shy of $70,000 into economic development. And then the rest is going into the rural services fund.
Well, I think we all have different opinions, so what are your opinions on this? 4 years ago we did this, and it was to help create a steady flow for economic development. In the same token, we decreased capital projects from 25% to 10%. My feelings on that are budget for it for capital projects and bring it to us in the budget, and so 10% is a good number versus the money that was going into that, which was what, 140 and then
Yeah, right.
170,000 a year into capital projects. I think we can plan a little ahead and budget for these programs if we're going to do major capital projects. So that was one of the factors of looking at the 10%. But the economic development, I believe, is well needed. If
Yeah.
I was looking at a changing this 80% property tax relief, I would like it to go to resurfacing of roads, which would be your gravel and your bridges.
Mhm.
That's property tax relief.
No, I mean the resurfacing.
No, capital improvements could be windows, sidewalks, structural.
So where does resurfacing roads fall?
It doesn't. That's where I just suggested, that's where I would like it to go to. If I
So
was
rather
looking
than
at
the
changing
80%
something.
property tax relief, whatever you're talking a percent for changing property tax relief to,
Infrastructure, roads and bridges.
Resurfacing, am I using the word correct?
I suppose road infrastructure would make sense.
But I'm not saying I need the whole 80%, I was just saying I would be interested in something like that.
Mhm. Yes, Donna.
Okay. I've gotten now that capital improvements does not mean road maintenance.
okay.
What do you mean by property tax relief then?
Can I answer?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. So the Rural Services Fund is taxes generated only on properties that are outside the city limits and the unincorporated areas, basically the rural people. And by their dollars that are taxed into the Rural Services Fund, we then make a transfer every year to cover the cost of secondary roads for upkeep of your gravel roads, for snow removal, for, help me out, Taylor. Yeah,
Signage.
Put more rock on the road.
Yeah, so the transfer is calculated according to a minimum and maximum amount of support that we must give him. And then the remainder also goes towards, from rural services, also pays for your fairgrounds for the fair. It pays for your use of libraries in the cities for rural residents, because prior to sponsoring and doing that, they weren't receiving any dollars to supplement the services that they were giving to rural customers who came into town to utilize the libraries. So we fund that. It also helps to fund part of the drainage clerk, who does a lot of the, a lot of the work as the drainage clerk to both trustee and county trustee-owned drainage districts. It also pays for the what's the solid waste?
Rural recycling center.
There. We also pay a per capita for that out of that fund. I'm probably missing something that'll come to me after.
Fire,
that,
EMS,
Um,
those other. additional funds we allocate for fire departments and EMS training funds.
I'm not
Do the
sure.
sheriffs have anything that come out of that?
Or is that one's
No,
not
that's
that
taxed
line?
at the
Okay.
township level.
Yeah, law
Sheriffs.
enforcement in the rural areas.
Rural
Well,
contracts,
Yes.
law enforcement, we pay the sheriff's department out of that fund to provide contract law to the communities that don't have their own law enforcement. The cities, the
Right.
incorporated areas.
Don't you tax or whatever the cities for law enforcement? Like, doesn't,
No. It's a
It's a
contracted dollar
contract
amount.
law enforcement.
yes.
From the
don't-
cities.
don't-
Yeah,
This
these
law-
These are unincorporated towns like
Garden
Garden City.
Gifford.
Gifford,
Gifford, oh, I'm sorry, not Whitten, Gifford.
Gifford.
in the rural areas, where they patrol in the rural areas of the counties, not within, it doesn't, the
Rather
cities
than-
pay for their own, they contract with the sheriff's department.
And rather than derail the conversation, those contracts are up in my office if you want to read them. You can see what services are in the contract, what they may specify, each one has their own contract for law enforcement, but they may specify how often a deputy needs to be seen in their area, how often they need to be on patrol there, that type of thing. You can go look at them, they're in my office. But anyway, I was answering the question of what's paid out of the rural services.
And then, so we tax for that, but then the property tax relief,
Means we don't tax it
deduct,
as much
right, we
because it
deduct
goes-
that from what
it
we
goes
would
to that
normally
fund.
tax, right.
So if I needed $1 million and I had 600 and some coming in from property tax relief, I only have to tax then for 400,000. It means you pay less in taxes as a rural customer.
Right.
Thank you for helping me get to my,
Julie?
Okay, so all of those things that you just named come from property tax relief, the 80%?
from the rural services
Okay.
fund, yep.
Thank you.
I have a question. You say on the rural taxes, some of it goes to like the library because they come in and they use it.
Yep,
The recycling.
yep.
I'd like to put a request in for something that, picking up animals. When people go from town outside and dump off an animal, I think you should be able to turn it in just like you can in town. Because when they dump them out there, you're really stuck because nobody will do nothing for you.
Right, I understand. Unfortunately, me as the auditor, I'm not that person.
Well, how would somebody go about getting that considered?
Talk to me, Bob. Bob, let's talk about it and we'll see what we can find for solutions. And you can give me some instances so we can
All right.
figure something out. Okay? Okay. Anything else on the funding streams and how the money's moved?
Back to your
Okay.
resolution though, I was asked to prepare it and give it to you, so I did. And if
Yep.
you do not desire changes to be made, then it doesn't need to appear on the ballot.
Right.
It's, right. I mean, it has come up off and on as far as making changes.
And we have a deadline of,
Well, the filing period for candidates right now is open,
August.
so the deadline for this I know falls within that filing period.
Yeah, and it's August
Yeah,
sometime.
candidates can file till the 29th, but I want to say, just off the top of my head, that is due prior to the candidate filing deadline.
Oh, okay. I also would like to see an increase in economic development. I am not fully supportive of taking away the capital improvements part because we can tax for things that we plan for, but there's always things we don't plan for. Just like the HVAC system. That was not totally planned for, but we're doing it. I think we need to have money available. Look at Marshall County. If we had to go through a tornado or another hailstorm or whatever, I realize those funds get reimbursed to us from insurance, but it is funds that we would have available in an emergency situation. And there have been numerous times where we're needing to look for funding for things that we did not plan for at budget time. Also, I realize roads are important. I am open for suggestion on percentages. I could see increasing economic development to 15%.
I would like to be able to reach out to the two economic development corporation groups in the county and see what their projecting needs for economic development would be. And I know that Iowa Falls Economic Development is in the process of hiring a new person. And so I hope that's going to take place relatively soon, that we can reach out and see what that new position, the person that fills that, what their vision is. But I also know that the cash on hand in the event of a disaster, Marshall County's been very vocal about, being able to supplement and fill in some of those needs that will be covered by insurance or other federal or state aid. But what you have on hand is very important. And so there seems to be a whole lot more rainy days than there are sunshiny days when it comes to spending. So I'd like to take, at least a week, and I know it's coming down to brass tacks, but I'd like to revisit this next week while I have a chance to reach out to the two economic development commissions and talk to Taylor about any projects he has, and just really, and Jody, to see what else we have in the works that, we can really get the most bang for our buck, but have something under our mattress if we need to have that there.
And I know we did talk to economic development commissions about providing a single health insurance plan for the two development people. So
The value of that.
yes,
Right.
the
A
value of that,
monetary sum,
not
yep.
providing the insurance, but providing that equal value to them. So I do know that we are going to increase funding there. And yeah, I think we do a little more research at this point in time, and
But the
Maybe we'll
increase,
use it in the
the
future.
increased funding could come from the general fund, which
Mm-hmm.
is everybody in the county paying, versus off of the rural services.
Correct.
This is true.
Relief.
Yep.
This is true.
And when I talk about roads and services, those are the people in the rural
That are paying for.
that will receive the benefit from
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest question I always get is, we want more rock.
Yes.
But we're capped at what we can give. Right now, we're at 100% of both rural services and general funds, and this is another way of finding more money for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, granted, take from one, charge the other. But it gives more funding available to secondary roads
Right.
versus a tax relief to the people. But that is for the people of the rural areas that would be getting the relief.
The direct benefit.
Right.
And Pauline, I'm glad you're here, because we had the discussion over the winter how tough it was to, get your husband out to his medical appointments. And so, those critical services need to be addressed to where, you don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul, but you have to really look at the well-being, and making sure that the critical services, and, between snow removal and the rock, and, there's a mixture of variables. I think it's important to address all of those, and finding that common balance. And so, you're a healthy reminder of, how crucial, gravel is. So, yeah, it's just another consideration. I'd like to have the time to talk about, if we utilize a lot of this for more gravel, what does that get us? And it's gonna.
If you did, like, what did you say, 70 grand was 10%? That's like 10,000 tons of rock.
Right.
Pretty good chunk. Last year we bought 65,000. Yes.
So I'd like to see how much bang for that buck we can get, and, where the money is best spent and add that to, Taylor's already they have a plan where gravel goes and where that's needed, but, if we added an additional amount of money, how much farther that would go, and that 5-year plan might, resurfacing plan might become 4.5 or 4. So those things I'd like to, explore with Taylor as well.
You have currently, what, a $6 million budget right around there? So if you look at $70,000, you're not talking a large percentage,
No,
but it's still,
we're already spending 1.3 million on rock a year, so that's a lot of your 6 million right there gone.
yep.
Yes, Julie?
Unless the property tax relief fund, if you reduce that, then you reduce, there's something taken away from services offered to the rural county. And that, then if you decrease those services or things in rural area, that could decrease quality, thank you, of the rural area itself. So it's.
What do you mean it decreases from real services?
What?
It wouldn't decrease, it just means we'd charge more back on the taxes to the real people. The dollar's a dollar, whether we give a relief or we give it in rock. So one, it would increase by giving more money to roads.
Those are investments in the county themselves, a direct benefit to the county. Where rural or economic development, if you don't have clean air, clean water, you're starting off, at a disadvantage, and we've yet to deal with those issues apparently. So I think people wanting to move here would want to make sure that, all of those, law enforcement and all these other things, provided by rural, property tax relief right there, that's the essence of economic development. Unless you can do that, if you take money from that, then, it's just shifting stuff, and I think that, we need to, in those issues, and make sure you're not just, shifting money around where it's not going to do what it needs to do, and then it's make Hardin County a better place to live. So, increasing property tax relief as we get into economic development, we need to address what's in this county now. Clean air, clean water. Thank you.
Okay.
So I would make a motion to table this until we can do further research. And
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The next item I have is a medical examiner investigator services agreement. So this was just brought to Auditor Laura's attention and my attention within the past couple days. And so it appears that we are in need of appointing an additional medical examiner investigator. And one of the current medical examiner investigators suggested appointing an individual, and so we need to consider doing that. I have a couple questions. Jessica did her due diligence, and the class to get the person certified wouldn't take place until January of 2019. And then I did the research. It's about a $2,500 cost to the county, and there is a portion in the agreement, number 9, that the county shall pay the registration costs of the continuing education course. If the medical examiner investigator terminates employment with 1 year after completion of the training, he or she will reimburse the county for 100% of the registration fee of any courses up to 6 months and 50% of the registration fee from months 7 through 12. And so those are some items to consider. And I know this job, for those that don't know what the job this is, like a death investigator. They are appointed by the county. They work under the auspices of the county medical examiner, but in the event of an unattended death, they can go out and pronounce the person dead and expedite the aftercare services. So it's a fairly technical job because it is truly a matter of life and death. So the position, not to take away from anything from being on the cemetery commission or anything like that, but this is a very important job and has some professional credentialing items that go with it. So Micah.
As your vacation expenses, we also supply them a laptop. It's not
Okay.
a huge expense, but
Right.
you know, that would be something else that we do supply equipment for the other two that we have.
Except that one will be surrendering the laptop.
Oh, is this a replacement?
It will be, yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know if this was an
Yep.
addition. Never mind then.
It's okay.
So today it's just brought before us. They're an independent contractor of the county. They're not an employee. So we can handle this as any other appointment, or if it's one of those untimely things where usually once a year we take applicants for the different appointments to boards and commissions. It could be addressed that way as well. So I'm just opening up all options to this board.
My thought is if this person is not going to be able to take the training until January, they're not really going to be able to serve in the position immediately, at least not on their own.
I encourage you to reach out to Marla Williams. She's the head of your medical examiner investigators. And she's the one that asked me to have her appointed, and apparently there's some paperwork and things that need to be filed prior to applying for the school, because you're not just automatically accepted. You have to have certain requirements met and whatnot. So if you're not gonna act on this today, that's fine, but I encourage you to talk to Marla, because my understanding was that there was going to be some sort of job shadowing type of activities going on where the MEI goes out and this person would be side by side with them, making sure this is something that they actually do want to do. Because you don't want to send them to school, have them come
Right.
back, get called out at 2 o'clock in the morning and go,
I don't
"Thanks,
like
but no
deceased
thanks."
people, thank
Yeah.
you, no. Yeah.
So,
And then there's a part of me that wonders if we should be taking applications like we do for other boards and commissions. I know we never have.
you do what you want.
Good.
I presented it before you because Marla gave it to me.
Yeah, I
Pauline?
realize that.
Does this have my voice this morning? Can this be like an RN or a,
Yep.
can fill this position?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a doctor.
No,
It can
No.
be like an RN.
correct. Yep. Yes, Julie.
So, we have medical examiner investigators now. How many do we have, or are they specifically appointed apparently? How does that work?
Yeah. So we have a county medical examiner, and then we have the medical examiner investigators. There's 3 of those that are usually appointed. One of them, I believe, is going to be resigning, retiring, or just not wanting to do it anymore. So we need to be starting the process of replacing them. So, yeah. There's certain times where this job, and having worked in medicine and worked with these folks, is anything that's suspicious or might need to involve law enforcement or further autopsy. You know, they are the first line of defense saying, hey, you know, we don't believe this looks natural and stuff. So and then they would involve the medical examiner, the law enforcement, and on up the chain. So it's a very technical job, and so, but I think the requirements do require a healthcare background. I think most of ours in the county are EMTs and/or paramedics. So, yeah.
Jessica, do you know, is the person that's leaving, are they filling out the rest of the year, or are they leaving right away? Do you know?
You'll have to ask Marla.
Yeah, I can contact Marla.
I can tell you that the person who's leaving answered one call last year,
Oh, really?
and the other two had to answer all the other calls. And I believe there's, on average, anywhere from 20 to 24 calls a year. They like to also be geographically situated, so that what they used to do in the olden days, they had someone in the northern part of the county, someone in the southern part of the county, and then someone kind of central that could go both directions.
Okay.
To make it a faster response time and more feasible, especially spur of the moment in the middle of the night. At this time, 2 were centrally located, and the third, I honestly don't remember where the third
Okay.
is located.
Okay.
But one of the centrally located ones is who's leaving.
Okay.
So I think that's probably why in the past they've recruited and specifically found people in certain geographic areas to fill the need, rather than stack one side of the county versus the other
Yeah.
for immediate response and have it wrapped up. But
Yep.
like I said, I was asked to put it out there.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
I am open.
Did you have a motion on the floor?
No.
Okay. I'd make a motion to table this at this time.
I'll second it.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, let's try to get a hold of Marla and see what
Okay. I'll call Marla. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Any other business?
I have a question.
Yes.
Last meeting, I have a question, a clarification on, I wrote a statement, I didn't feel comfortable speaking it out loud, so I wanted to know I could read it for it, and I was turned down,
Okay.
and I really don't understand why, because there's really no rules that says somebody else can't read it. But then later on in the meeting, you asked if anybody submitted anything for her to read it. My question is, why couldn't mine be read if I, for some reason, didn't feel comfortable reading it? Why somebody else couldn't read it, but I could have submitted earlier, and she would have read it?
Right. So.
Why is that?
Well, the rules we had were each individual gets 3 minutes to speak.
Correct.
Right. And you turned down the fact that you wanted to speak.
No,
I-
I did not turn it down. I asked for her to read it for me, that's what I said. You go back and look at it, I asked for her to read it for me, not
Oh.
turn down.
I apologize if you believe that I was trying to keep you from being able to speak, Bob. It was a matter of each person in what was published has 3 minutes to speak. I also did offer to include your comments, your written comments, in with the documentation that will be provided to the DNR.
I understood, but it wouldn't be read, which means a lot less. If it goes in there, nobody ever gets to hear about it.
I don't know if they read the statements when they get there or not.
Well, I wanted it read here, and you let other people read another statement that's brought in, so.
From who?
There were some other ones, we went to those confinement meetings where you asked if anybody had sent something in, and they read it.
Okay.
That's what's confusing.
Usually the board
Why-
secretary reads
Yeah.
reads those.
And why mine couldn't have been read out loud?
I think
I thought we
What-
offered that
yeah.
to have.
so. I apologize, Bob, if I offended you, and going forward, we can have our secretary read any comments that are provided ahead of the meeting.
All right, I
Yeah.
want to just get it clarified.
Yeah.
I mean,
From now on,
it
if
happened,
some
happened.
right,
I'd
yep.
like to prevent it from happening
Yep.
again, that you have to give them first, or can you
Yeah.
get somebody else to read it for you?
Yep, and I will work with Nancy on making sure that we have the procedures laid out and clarified ahead of time.
Now, like I said, I can understand if you got a whole lot of people here and a whole lot of them doing it, but
Right,
that meeting was very short. There was only like 3 people to talk.
correct.
Well, I do remember, though, that we offered to have the secretary at the time read the letter, and
But you didn't read it.
I think Donna said no, she didn't want that person to read it.
Not reviewed. And that was a private conversation, and you two know why.
Yeah, that was after we back looking
Yeah.
at it. But the
Okay.
point is, I'd like to clarify it so this doesn't happen. That's
And we
the
can
whole
do
point
that.
I wanna do.
Yep,
Okay.
thank you. Anything else? Yes, Pauline?
Can I ask what this budget amendment work session is at noon?
Yeah, we're going to recess and meet with, we're going to meet to look at our budget amendment work that's going to be considered on September 26th. And then Megan Dorman from IRVM is going to come in as well and go over any budget amendment items she has. And then you'll see on Friday, we'll be meeting with Auditor Laura so she can make sure the publication that goes out is correct, because Friday is the final day that she's given for all department heads to submit all budget amendment items.
Okay, so then this would be like, I apologize.
It's open to the public also.
Yep,
So this will be for the whole county?
mm-hmm,
Right.
yep.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
So I'm going to ask that we recess until the conclusion of the Drainage District completion hearing that was scheduled at 11 a.m.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we're in recess. Reconvene meeting this afternoon to talk about our budget amendment that's going to take place on September 26th at our regular meeting. So I know we had a couple projects the supervisors needed to address that were not completed last year. One being the tiling project at the county home, correct, Lance?
Yes.
So,
Did we have an estimate of that?
We just had 15,000 in, but then we had a just short of 13,000 for drainage district assessments this year also.
Yeah.
And I don't think we had either one of them budgeted into this year. I could be wrong.
I don't believe so.
There's 15,000.
Okay, there is 15,000 in the budget.
I'm pretty sure.
So we need to make sure that that was there, and then the additional 13,000. 15's for the tile, yeah, the tile that needs fixed in our county home field. If we're gonna keep our tenant at the
I
rates we're.
can run and get the current copy of our budget if you.
Yep, I think we should have that.
Well, which would be all of the budgets.
My pen gave out.
For the county homes, the 15,000, for the tile, it's 13,000.
Drainage assessments. It's in a drainage district, so they got assessed that much in a drainage district also.
Oh, okay.
So the county home ground would pay just as any other normal person would pay. They pay taxes on the property, they pay assessments on the property. But in the same token, we have a tenant that we need to keep the ground in working condition, and the tile's blown out on it. We need to get it fixed.
Okay. So I have the $15,000 for the tiling project, $13,000 for the drainage district payments.
Well, 15's just a guess.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, at one time you talked to Hansacker on
Yeah.
that. Did anybody ever look at it?
No.
Okay.
Everybody's been just busy.
Okay.
So,
According to the supervisor's budget here, We have $15,000 budgeted in land improvements, county home land.
So that is in the budget.
Okay.
So we just need that additional 13 for the drainage assessment.
Okay.
But I think we got billed July 1st, sometime around there. Or maybe it's not due yet, it's due September.
Yeah.
But we have Megan here. You want to go through hers
Yep.
first? Because we could take a while.
Okay. So
I don't-
IRVM. Megan, why don't you kind of give us an update where we're at, just briefly, equipment-wise, and what has arrived, what hasn't arrived, what's operable, what's inoperable, and give us the long and short of what we need going forward, short-term and long-term.
So the tractor came in finally for mowing, and then when the vendor came up to attach the mower heads, there were hydraulic lines that are missing off of them, and some were missing mounting bolts, so we can't actually mount the heads onto the mower. So he was going to try and get those replaced for free, but he broke his collarbone and had surgery, so he's not coming up till August 31st. And then hopefully he'll have all those parts. If he can't get them for free, then we'll have to buy them.
Why wouldn't they be included with the tractor?
Oh, it's on the heads that were purchased previously
Okay.
in previous years.
Okay.
So we already had the mower heads. We just got basically the arm and then the tractor.
Okay.
And then the spray truck, after coming back from Sprayer Specialties, it did have, they never winterized it. So parts on it, when we were starting the engine, every part they replaced blew. And then they ended up coming up to fix it. Well, when they had it, they didn't get it back to me till like the third week of June. And they also never replaced the hose reel like they were supposed to, but then because we never had a contract, it was basically phone conversation. They were like, well, we don't, your word against ours, but I knew what they were supposed to do. They also disconnected the boom head to go up and down, so we can't spray brush from the boom. It has to be handgun. And I had emailed you guys that we were having issues with it. Well, when one of the seasonals and I went to go spray, the barb on the gun blew up and she got covered in herbicide. So we can no longer use the handgun on that spray truck. It also hasn't had air in over a year. So on the days it's really hot, we can't spray for very long because you can't have the windows open when you spray. So in my opinion, I'd like to get rid of that truck, just sell it at an auction and get another unit like I planned on getting for this year, so 2 individual people can go out and spray 2 different areas and do single operation sprays.
Okay.
And then the hydro seeder itself is working. The vehicle enforcement from the DOT came out and they condemned the truck because with the hydro not even all the way full, we were 4,000 pounds over legal limit. So we're gonna have to look into getting another hydro seeding truck.
Okay.
That's like all, the
Okay.
chainsaws all work.
So the small tools were in good shape. We're back up to where we need to be for chainsaws and safety gear and stuff. How about the seed room?
So, Barry just got back to me, or is it Scott?
Barry Scott.
Okay. He just got back to me. They're gonna come out and start that room in September. He just sent me the quote a few months ago, so I already ordered all that from Home Depot. And that'll be coming in 2 or 3 weeks, and then they'll start that project.
And that's Barry Scott from South Hardin? Okay. I'm taking the notes here today, so.
And that's the high school?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so my office is currently the seed room.
Yeah, I noticed.
So, and that's just to keep the seed alive and viable, so when we do plant it, it will grow.
Okay. So total, explain what what you're requesting, and kind of your funding stream.
Okay, so I was gonna try and get some of the stuff. I also had to get the DNR mower fixed. And it had a broken axle, and then the throttle cable. This was before me, was broken and then put together with a paper clip, so then it wouldn't run. So the company that I took it to, they said that they didn't want to do anything with the axle because to replace that, it's actually more than the cost of the mower itself. So they were like, you can get by if you're just mowing flat ground, which what I've decided to use that for is that cell tower that's by the shop. Hardin County is responsible for the grounds maintenance. So it hasn't been getting done because I've been getting complaints from the city about it. So I just use that to mow that one section and then one of the corners by the shop. So that's all that's going to be used for, because if it goes anywhere else, that axle's going to break and then that thing is garbage. So that was one of the other things.
The axle was broken, and then what else on
The
that?
axle and the throttle cable to gauge the blades.
Oh,
What's that on?
The DNR mower.
DNR mower.
And that's the one that attaches to the ATV.
Okay. So so let's just to go one step back. LRTF grants, where do we stand there?
So I emailed Troy. He said it'll probably be a week or two before they actually divvy out who's getting what. Because after their committee goes through it, he has to send it to the higher ups and then they make the final decisions. So that's in the works. I'll know hopefully in a week or two which grants we got. And I think I talked to one of the members who helps push what grants each county gets. And I know I submitted 6, and he said I might only get 2 or 3. So I don't know which ones they would be.
And can you remind us what our prioritization was?
It was, I think I did the equipment first. So I think I did like a spray truck, the sprayer unit, because it'll be a skid unit.
Yep.
And then the Kubota with the sprayer, so that way that can go in and out of the roadside. So if we can't reach it with the truck, we would have a Kubota to use. And then the 2 different roadside surveys. But the county, if I didn't get those grants, we were going to go forward with that anyway.
Okay.
And that's actually in the works right now. I think Leland got 2 or 3 townships covered already.
Okay. Okay. So, in what you're requesting, what items, what capital equipment are you requesting then in the budget amendment?
So I was because we're gonna be getting rid of the one spray truck we currently have requires 2 people to be in it at all times.
Correct.
I was going to get the same setup that I had for the grant, but I was going to look into doing a 250, an F-250 instead of a 350. So it'd be, and it doesn't have to have a flatbed on it because it'll be a skid unit. So we only need one ton truck, which is what the grant was for. And then a new hydro seeder truck. The problem with it is a single axle and it should be a tandem. So the weight load, which I know I brought that up before. And when I talked to the guy from Peterbilt again, Vanderhags doesn't carry tandems, or they don't have any tandems right now. But Peterbilt, they said a used one, because I don't want to get a new one. They said used is going to be probably between like between 70 and 80,000. But he said to just go on the high end, and then he's waiting for the right truck to come in, and then he'll email me the quote.
Okay. So right now, the current hydro seeding truck, it's really not roadworthy.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's a 15-gallon truck, but with 1,000 gallons of just water, not including the mulch or the tack or the seed, we were already over the legal limit. And the mulch, per 1,500 gallons, you use 750 pounds of mulch. So,
Okay.
You had money left, or you should have had money left over from last year, correct?
Yeah,
About
it's,
100, about 100 and,
so it was 100, was it 50?
124,695.
Yeah, and so
Okay.
the tractor is gonna come out of that, the seed room will come out of that, and then there were like the DNR mower was almost $1,000 to fix, so like there was stuff that was still, it was purchased out of that, and Mindy's gone, so I can't get I don't have all the numbers of what it is, but if I just do an estimate in my head, after paying for the tractor and all of that, I think there's like 50,000.
give or take a little.
Yeah, so like that would be what would be added, not spoken for. And that's just a rough number.
Okay. So my big concern, and I think, as we've addressed some of the weed issues and stuff that for years before you got here, things were just not left in a very good position. So knowing what we know today, and if we're going to allocate more funding, I don't see us taking on any more big projects until we get things really under control. And, I appreciate your work ethic and the fact that you have great ideas and want to utilize your education, knowledge, and skills and abilities. And so I want to use those, but it seems like we're so far behind right now that we've got to play catch up before we can make other improvements. And so that's the one big thing of going forward is these expenses that are going to be incurred are just to really get us out of a hole. Correct? I mean, nothing. The only thing I can say that really is a seed room, but that's to keep the viability for maintaining what we currently have. And if we do want to seed a bridge area or something like that, but everything else, these aren't, grandiose ideas. These are just basic necessities, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to make it so, aside from hydro seeding and chainsawing, because you do need 2 people for that, I would like the spraying operations to be so I can send multiple people out. So with the 3 different, if we have the 2 trucks in the Kubota, that would, 2 seasonals, they're together, someone driving, someone spraying, and then I would go in a spray truck, and then whoever the next full-time is, they would go in a spray truck. So then you can essentially get 3 townships covered easier than you can with 1 truck that barely runs, no air, so you have to take breaks. Because, I've been in there and it's like 98, 99 degrees in the truck and it's cooler outside. So, and we've recharged it. I think it's like the unit itself, because the truck is a 94 or 95. It's the one from Crawford County, so it's an older truck anyway.
Yeah, and spraying with, well, of course you don't spray when it's super windy, but spraying with the windows open is kind of
Yeah, it's
not ideal, but.
And then in the winter, the plan is, because we have the chainsaws, we'll just chainsaw in the winter and then treat the stumps.
Okay.
So that's what unless it's, like negative, whatever, then it'll just be. I'm not so concerned about office work as getting out in the field and actually trying to get ahead of that, because the office work stuff I can just do at home. So it's not that big of a deal to do it at home, but I'd rather get ahead in the field.
Right. do you have, well, it's gonna be kind of hard to tell what you're really gonna need until we know about any grants that you receive.
Yeah, and I know in the past, I said if I didn't get the grant, we could just skip out on that equipment, but seeing with how little we have, and then when one thing breaks down, it's like,
Oh,
that's
gosh.
the only thing we've had, so I think I'm just gonna get the equipment anyway, so we have it, it's usable, and then we can get ahead.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to run the department with only 2 people anyway, because there's so much
Yeah.
to cover. So to be able to have separate fleets to go out is just going to be more of a time saver. You're going to get more done.
What do you have budgeted for part-time help or seasonal help?
I think so.
So you don't have any seasonal help right now, do you, other
They
than
will
the
be gone
intern?
Friday of this upcoming week. They're done. So.
And
I
you don't
won't
have a full-time employee at
No,
this
I'll
point?
be doing interviews next week and the following. But now
Have you
that-
had many applications?
I've had 4. So I'm interviewing all 4.
Okay.
And then I did fill out, well, I have to redo because I got a new lady in, but with Iowa State, I'm working on a partnership program. So students can work for the county through Iowa State. So Iowa State will pay 3/4 of it and the county pays 1/4. So and then the hours they accrue here goes towards their graduation. So I'm hoping that'll bring people in, and then every year I've been going to the NREM department and doing a program about what we do for like IRBM in this county. And I had, like the 2 seasonals I had, they were from Iowa State. They sat in on my program. So
Okay.
I'm trying to get.
How, or what time frame can those students work if you can get those?
Spring, summer, fall.
Okay.
So then I don't know if they can work in the winter where Iowa State pays because technically they're on break.
Oh.
So then we would pay the $11.
Okay.
Okay. So what's the total amount you're asking for then, Megan?
So it would be for the, sorry, I forgot my paper, but the one, is it 160?
165?
So that's for a new hydro seeder truck, not the hydro seeder, a slip-in spray unit, and a F-250, and that's with like the strobe lights for safety and like running boards, just stuff to get in and out.
Okay, 165 for the hydroseeder truck.
The slip-in spray
And-
unit, and then a spray truck. And then also, if we don't want to do this year, we don't have to. I did budget more because the leach field at my shop is crushed, because apparently where it was put in is now a road. So everybody drives over it, and that's why it backs up into the sink.
Into the
In
sink.
the bathroom.
Yeah.
So I don't know who to, I've been calling multiple people to come out and like, how do I go about fixing this, or how do I know it's broken? And I have people call me back, but then they never have time to come out. But I don't know how much, I don't know what it takes to rip up a leach.
I think that's a Jess Sheridan. Have you talked to her about?
I talked to her and she just gave me the printout of
Yeah.
like, because it was an in-house deal when those went in. And so I just have that paperwork, but I don't have.
But I think you told me too, when that originally went in, that was not a road that was driven on. It was a dead end
That's
thing.
what Taylor told me. He said, because I asked him, he said it wasn't a road, but now it is a road, maybe.
So I wonder if that has
So it'd be
to, I don't know what the
Fifth
answer is.
Street is what it would be. But it's, because I mean, we even drive on it to get into that last bay. So,
Yeah, that's crazy.
So you're looking at $165,000 for a truck, the slip-in spray unit, and what else was that going to?
the hydro seeding truck, the spray truck, the slip-in unit, and leach field.
Total of 165.
That's, well, I don't know what the leach field is, that's why I said that's adjustable, because I don't have a,
I think that could wait. I'm sure we'll have to look at another amendment later.
I know, but
In
you
the
can't
year.
dig that up in the winter.
No, but
I don't know.
So that 165 would cover the hydroseeder truck.
mhm.
Is there an option to put a tag axle under that?
A what?
Tag axle.
I'd have to I'd have to talk to Dale Howard and Union, because that's where I got.
no,
No,
on
no.
the hydroseeder.
Oh, on the
The straight
hydro
truck.
center. I would,
What's a tag axle?
It's just an assisted axle. You just drop it down when you're loaded.
Oh,
I mean, you could, but stability-wise.
I guess I'm confused as to, we knew what the weight was going to be when we originally looked at the truck. Why didn't we?
Well, so that's actually, that has gone to Daryl, because I was told, I gave all the numbers. I said, this is how much mulch is gonna be in it, this is how much is gonna be on top, this is our seed. And then Vanderhags talked to the Bowie vendor, and I said, you need to make sure that this is gonna hold the right weight. And I said, because I believe we need a tandem. And then they said, nope, we talked to the vendor, he said everything was good. We believe it's good, you're gonna be fine. You can have one load in, 2 extra up top. So they assured me that everything was
So when you say
right.
Daryl, you're talking Vanderhags?
No, the county attorney, because
Oh, okay.
we bought I bought that truck under false pretenses that it was legal for what we were doing, and then it wasn't. And I gave him Nate's information, because Nate was a part of this whole thing with Vanderhaag, so he can be the second person to vouch that they said it was gonna work for what we needed it to.
Okay.
So there's a possibility that we might be getting either they're gonna have to take it back and give us their money back, or I don't know. That's a Daryl.
Okay, so that's in the process. So it's a
And then
a new pickup, 250. 350s are bringing about the same money anymore.
Okay, well I can get a price on both.
I actually,
Oh, they think they're the same.
they might be less.
Oh,
Might be easier
okay.
to get a 350 than a 250.
Okay, so then I'll look into it.
Really?
So
Yeah.
I know the quote for the 350 that was on the grant, the truck. Like I got a truck and chassis, but I think it was like 40,000 for just like the truck. But then without the chassis, I think it was like 32 or 33. So the whole truck itself then would probably be around 40,000 government.
And then the slip and spray unit. And we were hoping to get the grant on that, correct?
So we were gonna get the grant on one, but if we end up doing another spray truck, it would be additional. That way we have 2 spray trucks.
If we get the grant on the first one,
Right.
which would be how much?
I think it was 9,988.
So 10,000.
And that price includes the install and all the bolts and all of that. And it would be, they'll have a 3-boom sprayer on the head and a hose reel off the back. And then you just have, there's 2 screws that hold it to the front of the truck. And so then in the winter or whatever, you just take that off. And then we're gonna put the burn unit on that 350 as well. So that truck is gonna be utilized for 2 purposes.
Right.
the 10,000 was what?
The spray, the
The
slip and
spray unit.
And that's about what the grant would have been, 10,000.
I think they covered, it was either, I can't remember if it was 20% or 80% of, it's either 20 or 80% is what they covered, but but sometimes they don't give you that because other people submit grants too, so
Yeah.
they
Split
will
'em
divvy it
up.
out, so I won't know what we got for another couple of weeks.
Okay. Now, the tractor you purchased,
That-
you wrote the check into this year. We need to amend that money from last year's budget.
Right, yep, and so that's,
Yep.
That's
well,
the
I had another sheet that had the
124,000.
breakdown amounts, but I thought I gave that to Jessica, maybe I didn't. But the tractor was like 70,190 or
Yep.
something like that. So that was gonna come off of the 124. And then the seed room is coming off of that one because it was supposed to be last year, and that's like around 4,000. So there was and then like the fixing the DNR mower, which was almost 1,000, that was coming off of last year's budget. So like I said, I think roughly
50,000.
Like 50,000 is all that's coming over from that.
And then you want 165,000 on the new budget.
Well, and that number was, I didn't.
So you want an additional 40,000. I'm looking at the numbers. 165 is what you want total for budget amendment, right?
Yeah, and that, well,
120,
that
124 was from last year that you want to pull back over, so you want an additional 40,000. Is this still taking into consideration? I believe you had about 100,000 set up for purchases of vehicles for this year, or
That was-
equipment
it was like
purchases.
95.
98 or 95.
Yeah, and that, so that was part of those grants.
What's
All
your
that money was
department
in
number,
there.
do you know?
24.
So is that money subtracted off of the
No,
165?
so I didn't realize that.
Equipment purchase, we have
I didn't realize that
97,000.
You can move the money from last year's budget over.
You can with the budget
Yeah,
amendment.
I didn't know that's what it was. I thought it was like, what do you need? So that's why I said that 165 can be adjusted, because I didn't know that I could like get that money over.
Right.
Okay.
So that 165 can be adjusted
Equipment purchases, 97,407.
for this year.
Right, is
Yep.
what you had in the
It's
line
what's
item.
budgeted.
Yep, that was, well, and that also includes on the truck and chassis, the flatbed for the 1 ton. Because that was a separate purchase.
Okay, so you're spending all that 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now you want the additional 124 that you didn't spend last year, and an
Yep.
additional 40 on top of that.
Yep, roughly, yeah.
Okay.
And I can
And
get.
part
I'll
of that
get
is to get a second sprayer.
a second spray truck set up, yeah. And then the new hydro. Well, and then also the equipment that we have that I'm not using. So we have those 2 pull behind sprayers, the 150 that it's like it's been broken down. So there's that one, the straw thrower, and the hydro seeder are going to the DOT auction in October. So there will be money coming back. I just have to, there's 2 items that I'm selling that were part of LRTF grants. So I just have to pay that grant back, and then all that rest of the money comes back. So I'm getting rid of the stuff that hasn't been used in like a decade. And then that money will.
And that'll cover the 70,000. You're dealing with Vanderhags on false pretenses. And then you're still back to 70 to 80,000 for another truck.
Yeah.
And that's part of the 165,000?
Yeah, because that would be a tandem. And then that also would include the mounting of because it's going to have to come off of the current truck and then get put on another one. And they're going to have to buy the oak boards again. At Vanderhags, they had, like, oh, we have the blocks. They actually just compressed a bunch together. So it wasn't just a solid block, and now they've all started to crack. So I would need new oak pieces too, and that mitigates the sound and then just the vibration. So yeah, that 165 can be, and I'll get quotes on, because I did quotes on 250s, so I'll get quotes on 350, 350.
Okay.
And then I can get back to you guys.
Do Ike Myers, do they do
Chevys.
deal in trucks?
Chevys, Fords,
When
just Chevy.
And it doesn't
Just
matter
Chevy?
what kind of truck.
Right, I think
it
they're a
is.
Chevy dealer, for sure.
Yeah, you're right, they are. But Ford has a better county discount.
Usually, but I'd buy
is that-
small.
Okay.
I mean, you just need a 350 pickup.
Yeah, because I was going to look at Dodge, and then Charles Gavis, I think, was on the state bid.
I would compare 250 and 350s, but last I heard 350s are cheaper than,
Okay,
well, we looked at one that's cheaper than
So-
a 250.
We
okay.
probably should send to Ike Myers too then.
I would,
Ackley.
all the dealers.
But the best case scenario is if the LRTF grant comes through, then we could potentially not have to buy the complete spray truck. And what else could potentially come off of there?
So the sprayer or the slip-in unit,
Right.
the actual spray truck, I could have gotten the Kubota grant and then the unit that goes in the Kubota.
So those are still
Yep,
possibilities.
there's still possibilities, I just don't know
So
what they're.
at this time, would it make more sense just to transfer it over, the 124, see where the grants turn out, and then if we need to do
Yeah.
another budget amendment? Instead of
That's-
asking for more new money, let's see what we do with the grants.
Transfer the old, and then if we have to do another budget amendment, we can. But that gets you your money a whole lot quicker.
Otherwise, you're asking for money that we don't know if we need.
Right.
Why ask for it yet?
That's- yeah, and
The only
that's
thing
what-
is if we
Well, and I know
amend
that-
for it and then just not appropriate it until we know how much is definitely needed.
Yeah, and that's that's how I thought it went. I didn't know that that's how I thought it went, was like you ask for what you want and then you guys say this much. I didn't know.
Yeah, you can do both. It's just,
Because I know, like,
Because
I know
if
there's only
we don't usually-
50,000 technically left from the old one.
Right.
Because I know
Well, no,
some
it's-
of the big stuff coming out.
it's not really left. It got rolled back into the budget.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, that's what would be,
But-
if it gets reappropriated in.
But it was to be spent on those projects last year that you are now paying for this year. Let's move it over. No different than the sheriff's cars.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that I don't have an issue with moving all that over, because obviously you paid for a tractor that you didn't pay for last year that we did the amendment for last year.
Right.
But if we're looking to try to do an amendment for an additional 40,000 that we may not even come close to doing, why do the amendment at all for that addition?
If we can just do the transfer.
Right
and then
now.
revisit it, see what the grants, that way we're not taking money and moving it if we really don't need to put it there.
But when would we be doing another one if she does need it? I mean, I know we always do one in
Right.
April. But can she get through to April?
Or maybe we just buy the one truck if that's the case, if we don't get the grants.
Yeah.
We don't have to buy the second. She wanted the second truck. But with the grant money, you could do 2 trucks.
Right.
Well, it also depends on how soon do we want to
Get
get
caught
all
up.
this done?
Yeah,
Because we are so far
Dale
behind.
Howard said with like the stuff that we're getting, like the service lights and all of that, I won't get it right away. It has to
Yeah.
be built and then come in.
Only thing is I have a problem. I want to do the business locally, but
Right.
Dave said if he would have, like on his new police or his sheriff's vehicles, if he would have waited for somebody local to do them, it was going to take a long time. Where he got the vehicles at Gabus and they go to Carl Chevrolet to their like emergency services fleet vehicle division, and they do all the emergency lighting and everything with your chassis in a matter of a day or two. So that really speeds things up. And they come up, they pick up your vehicle, take it back, they leave a vehicle. That's why there's Carl Chevrolet vehicles at Dave's office for a week. So there's some options to get us up and going without, I mean, like I said, I want to do the business locally, but if it takes 90 days or more to do it, we're that much farther behind. So
And
I want to
actually-
explore all options. I want to be creative with it at the same time of getting the work done.
And I don't know, is there a rush on doing the budget amendment, or can we wait another week or two to find out if she gets
Dave.
the grants? What?
Dave's is a rush.
Yep.
Oh, is it? Okay.
And we already set the date for the hearing.
But if she ordered like this truck in the like now or whatever, and then they'd have the winter time to do it all.
Yeah.
It'd be up and ready and going for her by spring when she needed it.
Yeah. There's just so many inconsistencies, when you're dealing with somebody that doesn't deal with all the safety lights and all that stuff all the time, to where, yeah, it would be a great winter project, you would think. I agree with you. But sometimes you're going to get put to the back of the line every time because they don't need it right away. They don't need it right away. Just like this tractor deal. This tractor was supposed to be here in March. And
Yeah.
it was just delivered 2 weeks ago. That's inexcusable.
I
Because we
would,
missed a mowing season with, and then when I have constituents that are disappointed that things aren't getting mowed, it really puts the blame on her when it should have been Phelps/Van Wall implement that nobody knew where this tractor was. But you know who the bad guy is? She's sitting right next to you, and you're looking at them. When you start getting the calls because somebody else drops the ball, that's when you think, boy, if I would have rather spent some extra money to get it here, or say, okay, if it can't be delivered, we're going to demand that you give us a vehicle, a tractor in the meantime. So being assertive, we have to stay after people.
Well, then could she, like with the leftover money or whatever, then could she buy that truck now then with that leftover money and get the lights? and that?
there isn't any leftover money.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
She's
it all-
she's
Money
40,000
reverted
short.
back.
Oh,
That's
okay.
that's what we're talking about, an additional 40 on top of the leftover. And the 40,000 is roughly what you're looking at for a grant coming in on a
At
spray
least.
truck, on a spray rig, right?
Well, it depends.
Right around there.
Well,
I mean,
Possibly, depends on how they divvy up.
Because sometimes they'll only give you 5%.
Right.
Or 10%, it just depends, because REAP got cut again
Uh-huh.
after the first time. So they had even less money
Yep.
this year, so, and there's, I think, 3 or 4 counties that just started IRBM, so those counties kind of take priority over ones that have existing. Because technically, for the last 30 years, this county should have been applying for grants.
So if you might have applied for 20,000 for something, say, and you might only get 5,000,
Yeah.
6,000, because
Right.
they're trying to divvy out smaller amounts to more people, more
Yeah.
places. But
Well, I guess I still look at it this way. We're still in this 124,000. You still have the money to buy a new truck, new sprayer truck.
Well, so just the truck though, not the slip-in unit.
right. But the truck like I saw in Cerro Gordo County,
That's what I'm getting.
right.
That
And how much?
exact
What's
truck.
that total?
Well, so that truck, the truck and chassis was 23,000, and that was with the trade-in of the gold truck that we
Yep.
have. And then what Dale Howard did say, because now it's been over X amount of days, they have to do a reassessment, so it might be more than that. Then the box to go on
Right.
it, I think was 10, and then the sprayer unit is 10.
Okay.
But whatever truck I get for the second one is not going to be a one-time.
Right. Unless it's financially better deal.
Right.
Okay.
And what I'm getting
Which
at
probably
is,
gonna be a better deal if we just looked at one that
yeah.
was cheaper.
Well, it's hard telling
Well, I guess
anymore.
then
It's a new
it
month.
won't be a truck and chassis, it'll just be like the truck with a slip-in unit.
Right.
Right.
So
I-
then I won't have to pay for a bed to be put on it, but it will still be a one-ton truck.
I guess what I'm saying is if we just transferred the roughly 125,000 over, that with the grants that we could potentially get would cover 2 trucks and everything else that you talked
Right.
about. Without the grants, it would be just 1 truck and everything you talked about. Why not just wait for the next amendment to see if we get the grants?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to make the amendment today for the what if we need it.
Well, if we do wait, there's no guarantee we're gonna get it in time for that next season. So then
But we'll know.
buy it.
We'll know on this grant. I would rather come back. I agree with you, Lance. I'd rather come back in 6 weeks
And do another budget
budget amendment, knowing that we did what the results of the grant funding would be.
Okay.
And I know that costs money, and I know those are things also, but even if we don't get the grant money, do we absolutely positively have to have that second truck this year? Or can we just budget for it again next year and be
Right.
done?
Well, do you wanna be
I,
caught up, or do you wanna
I know,
stay far
but
behind?
I really want to know what the grant awards are. And
Yeah.
we were told that I have looked at the email,
Yeah, it
from
was supposed
8
to be
months ago,
August
August
1st.
1st. And so that's why, today, talking with Jessica to schedule today's meeting and in Friday's meeting to finalize everything. I was hoping we were going to have all that. Obviously, there's you and none of us have the pressure to put on anybody to get that pulled off. So, you know, it's just one of those things that I'm more comfortable, you know, paying for the sure things, and then if the grants come through, we'll dance and we'll have cake, and that's great. If not, then we'll have to, you know, reevaluate where we're at. I want to be caught up more than anything, but I want to really reel things in to where, you know, we take things nice and slow. So, but I would rather arrange that transfer
From last year's to
from
this
last
year.
year to this
Yeah,
year.
I don't have
And that'll
any.
get you the money. I mean, that could be all done next week, and you could get, I mean, I'd be more than happy to help you however I can to, if you want to go to Carl Chevrolet along with everybody else and find out what these, you know, packages are going to cost. And right now is a great time because there's 19s being put on the lot and 18s that they're going to want to get rid of. If you don't mind having a mint green, you know, Ford F-350, then that's great. Whatever, you know. So, you know, I might even have a coupon. I don't. So, but I just want to, you know, make sure that we're exploring all the options and getting us to where we've got equipment ready to use. And you know, and I think it's a great thing to get Daryl involved in this Vanderhaeg thing, that if they knew that the truck, they knew what the specifications, what the specific use is, there should, I mean,
Yeah.
there's something got dropped there.
Which could in turn, a possibility is they put a tag axle under it,
Yeah,
$10,000, now you have the money.
yeah, for that other truck.
That-
But we can negotiate, I
The
think.
70 to 80,000 may only be 10,000.
Yeah, and I think, you know, getting Daryl involved is a very good thing, and, you know, I'll have the conversation with him. He needs to be assertive with them and play some hardball of, you know, this would have been a really embarrassing thing or a personal injury thing with that high center of gravity that's already there, and then you're, you know, looking at challenges, and not saying that a county vehicle can't be pulled over by commercial vehicle enforcement, but that's the last thing that we want to have to deal is with getting put out of service on the side of the road. So, so those are kind of some of the question or the issues I have there. But I'd rather get that transfer done ASAP and get some equipment rolling in here. And don't take any risk of, well, there's 15 spray trucks ahead of yours, it'll be June of next year. That doesn't help us. I want to get to that front of that line sooner than later.
Well, the company that I'm not going to Sprayer Specialties anymore for sprayer work, so it's actually going to be, it's a company in South Dakota, and they're the ones that built the Cerro Gordo
Okay.
ones. They told me it took a week.
Okay.
They had their sprayer in a week.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's the other thing is, I mean,
That was
wherever
ridiculous.
we get
what
the
we
chassis or
went through
whatever, you know.
and they can drop ship it. I've already asked.
Okay.
So they said they can drop ship it there, and then we would just have to pick it up or pay to have it be brought back.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Okay. That's all I have.
I still would recommend that you go with a Ford truck. The Fords do motor, chassis, or all of that do seem to last longer than the Dodges or the
Yeah.
Chevys. They're just known for that.
I don't like
I think
anything
you
new. I
get
like
your
the old
money-
ones anymore.
I was gonna say.
Money's worth out of that.
Yep.
Um,
I think Megan will consider all options, and I think, you know, what I saw at Cerro Gordo County impressed me just with the setup and everything. The other thing about we're lucky that we have, you know, several good dealers in the area that can maintain those vehicles. So But yeah, I'll let Megan do her homework, but we just need to get that transfer taken care of and get things rolling here, so.
I had a note on your budget too that we need to add a line item. I'm not sure if I talked to you about this for publications, notices, and ads. I don't think there's anything in your budget for
Oh, I
any of
think-
that, and you are required to publish certain
Yeah, that,
things.
I merged two of them. I think that went to, is there an office one? Like office.
There's general supplies.
I might have merged it in with general supply, but I have been publishing, and I think it comes out of the general supply. Because when I put the weed commissioner, but I can re-add that in there.
It might, I mean, it'd be a little more clear,
Okay.
I think, if we did have that. I mean, because most of the other ones, I mean, like in our budget and auditor's budget, we have that
Okay.
legal notices and publications or whatever, something like that. I just happened to notice that, so. So I'm sure Mindy can set that up for you.
Okay.
All right, anything else from you?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Those are funny
How much
things.
longer do you have Lily?
Sam and Lily leave on Friday.
Oh,
of next
really?
week.
Oh, next week?
Yep, so then I'm still trying to figure out how to make the current spray truck usable to get rid of the herbicide left in it, and then triple rinse it and just set it aside.
Is there a drain plug on it?
Mm-hmm.
Can you just transfer it?
I mean, you could, but what are you gonna get to go underneath the? I don't have
What are you
anything
gonna
extra like.
Oh, when I was saying a drain plug, I didn't know if you could just unhook and pump into
Oh,
another.
no, it's like, it's underneath.
That's just a plug, but where it goes into the pump, there's nothing you could, no shut-off valves.
Mm-mm. There's one shut-off valve, but it doesn't dump. It dumps straight down. It's not like
Okay.
one that I could and I don't have anything else aside from the pull behind
transfer it.
sprayers to use, but.
Either that or,
I know we said those weren't safe because you're standing in the back of a truck hosing, so.
but we've used them for years. I think we got those with the grant money too.
Mm-mm,
We didn't.
nope.
Another option that could be done, a sump pump. Is there a manhole on the top?
They're just on the tank.
On the top of the
like on
tank?
Right,
actual
the
tank
fill-
itself,
the fill.
Yeah. Yeah,
Pump
you
it
could
off.
put a sump pump in and just transfer it.
Is there one to use somewhere? Because I don't have one.
They're $30.
Yeah, just get a little tiny, you could even pump it out with a hand drill pump.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that, not that many gallons.
But, well, the only thing is then you're not contaminating. You could buy 2 garden hoses and that hand drill pump, and yeah, it's gonna take a while, but, do it once, it's $10, throw it away. How many gallons are on?
350.
That's why I say just
Oh.
a $30 sump pump,
Yeah.
stick it in there and transfer it over, and
Probably, yep.
then you don't have that much to try to flush out and get rid
Yeah.
of.
I just have to see if those are workable.
Okay. All right. What's the next budget item you've got, Lance?
Oh, the county home, the
Megan.
drainage.
Thank you.
Assessments were the two that I remember the most of. Boy, I rattled some off the other day. But I think there were other people's budgets that are rattling off.
Yeah.
But make sure they all got put into it. Let's see, the auditor needed something for part-time
Part-time
assist,
staff, yep.
part-time staff. Lori wanted her budget amendment from last year. Dave needed his,
What did Lori need for?
Siemens.
she wanted that carryover she had last year, she talked to us on.
Yep.
What she didn't spend
Or
last year,
what?
she wanted transferred into this year.
Did she say what she needed it for?
Yeah, that was part of that Cheryl's salary. When they upped the salary, that was part of that.
Oh,
Sheriff's, that one had a large one.
do we need to do an amendment to give to economic development for that insurance?
If we do anything, yes. We haven't decided what we're gonna
No,
do,
we
but
haven't.
if it's gonna come out of lost funds or if it's gonna come out of general fund, if it's gonna come out of general fund, then yes, we need a budget amendment. And that is, what, $18,000?
What's that?
Economic development, that
Yeah.
dollar amount.
I believe so.
I think we need to meet with the economic developers.
I know, but are we going to be able to do that in time?
No?
Well,
That might have to be in another one then too.
yeah, I would prefer to take that single health policy, multiply it by 12, double it, and then just get it out there.
That's about 18,000.
Right.
I got a lot of questions on that anyway, so. One, we don't even do that for our own employees. We only give 90% of it. We charge the employees 10%.
Right.
So why would we give 100% the other way? And then, should we make it for one employee, or do we make it for two? One employee to be divided, or two employees? Just a dollar amount of a single health insurance plan. $20,000 is a lot of money. We increased them 5,000. We increased them 5 before, another 75 from our. This is just the last 4 years. I mean, you're pushing this. You're pushing this line item pretty close to $60,000, where it used to be 25,000. I'm not against economic development by any means. But I do feel that we need to budget for things.
I do know that we haven't really had any more meetings, I don't think, since Cindy has left. And since Angela's been here. But with the creative placemaking, I know that's added more work, and that's a county-wide thing for sure.
Right.
Because there's been numerous additional committees set up on that.
I would rather have their time turned back into us and pay them for the additional time than just hand the money over. Keep track of your mileage. Keep track of the time, the hours you're working. I mean, right now we got a project going on over here that they're spending time and money.
Right.
Submit us a bill and pay the bill.
Well, once Iowa
I don't
Falls
have a
gets a
problem with
person in
that.
place, could we do another one of our joint meetings?
I
We
think
have
that would
to.
be good.
Yeah,
Yeah, then
And-
talk about it,
right.
right. And I don't have a problem with them documenting what they've actually done or what they actually do on a weekly or monthly basis.
And then submit a bill to us, and we can take that out of the lost funds that are currently there.
Right.
But just add an additional 18,000 on top of the 23,000 for this year. That almost doubled it in 1 year.
So,
And I don't want to create something we can't sustain.
yeah.
Right.
And I don't want it to be expected this way.
Right.
That was part of the 10% on the economic development. It's a funding source, don't get me wrong, but at this rate, it's not sustainable. And that's what happened to it the first time. And I do believe we need economic development. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
the alliance that we've had is working quite well. I just think that dollar amount's quite a bit for an adjustment of this year.
Right. And that's why I think, we've made it very clear going forward that entities that are wishing to request funding do that early enough. And we need to make that known that early enough is November, December.
And
Right.
we increased it back then
Right.
to be run
Yep.
through the budget. 2 years ago, we did, before we even hit July 1st, we increased it another $7,500.
Yep.
Before the year even started, we changed it again. we need to slow down and stick to what we budget for
Right.
sometimes. But I am okay, if they're gonna put staff down here, but that's still $18,000 value. That's a little steep number.
Well, and I
Right.
mean, they may put staff down here, but they could be working on their own city stuff in the meantime. I mean,
Which is fine, but this is an additional 18,000 to the
Right.
Alliance group.
Yeah.
Where it makes more sense for them to submit a bill to us and then we just pay for the cost of it, whatever number that comes out to be.
right. I don't have a problem with that, so I think we just wait with that until,
Okay, and then will you let
Later.
Angela know we need to set up one of our joint meetings with both economic development groups again?
once someone's hired.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then start on the budget as well.
Right. Okay. I think I got the answer. Emergency Management Commission will likely have to have their own amendment. Because if they take just a hand-me-down vehicle, then they will have to reimburse the sheriff's office for the
Right.
trade-in value. So that'll be done over there. So won't have to be in anything here.
Okay. Oh, what else do we have coming down the line? The HVAC system. However we fund for that, that'll be separate. If we do anything with secondary roads, that'd be separate.
Pauline, what can we do for you? I do know, well, one thing I can tell you is Bernie Kierson, I don't know if you've worked with him from the Veterans Affairs Department, but he's acquiring transportation to help transport veterans for VA appointments as well. So in the event that, transportation became an issue, our Veterans Affairs Department will be having some limited transportation in the future.
Ours is mainly, I can transfer Kenny
Mm-hmm.
if we don't have to baha the roads.
Yeah.
And this was really an unusual, I mean, spring kind of came into winter.
And then
we
went
went
back.
back to winter,
Mhm.
and then spring. I mean, it was a different year this year.
Yep.
I can't even recall a year like we had this year.
So does Bernie have that money in his budget?
I believe so.
Were we going to, no, Bernie has to, he'll have a budget amendment as well from last year's carryover.
Oh, yeah. Yes, Jessica
Oh.
yep.
Are we going to do anything with the drainage clerk, full-time, part-time? It's,
Well,
The letter we
she's
got,
hiring a part-time
part-time.
person.
so would that mean,
So I don't know. I took it that everything would remain the way it is. However, I don't know if she hires another person where she's going to put them. But if it's part-time, I don't see moving Tina down here because when the part-time person is not working, Tina has to take those calls and all that information is upstairs. I mean, any books,
Right.
records, whatever, that's upstairs. A lot of stuff she can probably do from the computer, but not everything. I just don't know the logistics. That's something we'd have to talk about.
I think we need to go over all that. You're putting a part-time person in a sense, to take away that duty from the person. Now there is that shadowing of getting to that point, but maybe July 1st of next year, it'll end up divided.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's too early to really tell what's going to happen or how this whole thing's going to transpire. I mean, to find out if
I think you're right, it's
if
too early.
drainage is going to be full-time, if there's enough to keep a full-time, and you know, if Jessica can
we don't wanna be
sustain her office
top-heavy.
with only a part-time person.
You're right, and what's part-time going to entail, 10 hours or 30, 29?
29.
I mean, she's hiring for less than 30 hours a week.
Right.
So I think it's kind of a wait-and-see thing myself.
And maybe we can take our supervisor hats off, put our drainage trustees in next week at the meeting. We can agenda asking Tina what it really looks like to her. Ideally what it looks like, and find some compromise of something in the middle.
Even I'm not sure if she's going to know.
Right. Well, I'd like to know what ideally would be best for efficiency and, you know, just day-to-day operations. And just see what it is. Not saying we have to.
I think we'll have to play it by ear for a little
Yep.
bit, so there wouldn't be anything in the amendment. That's what I was
No.
looking at to see if something would need to be amended. I can't think of anything else on the amendments.
Okay.
So basically ours is 13,000. Or am I missing something really big?
I don't think
Do
so.
we have any legal fees that have been pulled from?
Mm-mm.
Additional HR fees?
We do have additional HR fees possibly. But I
Then,
think it's,
But they won't be any more than what Groof charged, which
So-
I think was where
Oh,
we
all right.
budgeted.
Contracts coming up.
I didn't have anything else.
Okay.
Legal fees, were there legal fees or was that last year's budget?
That was last year's with David
Okay.
Johnson.
Yep, it was. That was in the last amendment.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.